All right, welcome back to Thompson to Clark. Brad and I are here on a Monday evening. Giants play the Reds later tonight. We will not talk about that game because it will have already happened by the time a lot of people listen to this. But we will talk about some of the moves that they made before the game. The just announced, like literally hot off of the presses. They made some moves because some guys are hurt and they had to replace them. So Willy Adames is finally going on the IL, and it's not because of his back. It's actually because of his elbow. I know there was some talk about his back. It's his elbow that sent him to the DL. Victor Barracoto, knee bone bruise. JT Brubaker, bruised ribs. Bryce Eldridge on the bereavement list. You said it was his grandfather?
Yeah, I think they mentioned his grandfather passed.
So there's talk that he may miss the entire Cincinnati series. And then a guy that we're going to talk about in a second, the Tugboat, Matt Wilkinson, he also got optioned to make room. Who did they make room for? Ryan Walker.
All the names you know and love.
Nate Furman, Grant McCrae. At least I like one of those names.
Yeah.
Anthony Molina and Shea Whitcomb. Now, some of these guys that they have on their roster today, they're going to be guys that in 10 years, Grant Brisbee is going to use to make fun of, that only the diehardest of Giants fans will know who these guys are. Like he pulls some of these guys out of his rear end sometimes to make a point. That's going to be some of these guys. But man, that's 5 in and 5 out, man. That they're making. Well, I mean, why not Bo Davidson? I guess maybe they didn't want to burn an option or something, but that dude is killing the baseball. Why not him?
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's one of those things because he's not on the 40-man.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not on the 40-man already and there's a chance you need to get some more work in because you're a prospect for the Giants and the Giants want you up next year or in the next couple of years. If there's a lockout and a lot of baseball is missed, if you're not on the 40-man, you're considered a minor league player and you are not locked out.
Very true.
So there will be a minor league season regardless. And so I'll be going to a lot of Reno Aces games, I think, early in the season next year. But yeah, so I think that's the main reason.
And, if there isn't a delay in the start of the season, I'm going to be very mad because I want more than just Bryce Eldridge and Logan Webb to root for. Yes. Give me Bo Davidson so I could at least turn on the game and go, oh, I get to see some ABs here. I want to see what's going to go on.
Yeah. So you're saying you don't think the names of like you don't want to see in the lineup next year Jonah Cox, Buddy Kennedy, Oslavis Basabe. You're not excited for 2027 filled with those guys?
If they were bench players, I think they'd be really solid bench. But the Giants would have a solid bench with those guys.
Yeah.
So you got some speed there.
Giants have a good bench in the starting lineup. That's not something you ever want to hear, right?
But yeah, you do have to make up that starting lineup. We'll talk. We're not really going to talk about the games that much, but I did want to mention I was on the Pesky podcast last week before the weekend, and they wanted to talk about Devers going back to the Red Sox, and I thought he was going to play well because it's just a place where he hits the baseball really well, and he hit the home run in that first game. And I told those guys, awesome guys, by the way, it's a really, really cool show. They had some really cool graphics, and we talked about, I was like, you guys have to sweep. Like, if you guys don't sweep, the Giants aren't even really trying. They're putting out lineups that look like more like spring training lineups than anything else. And I was like, you guys got to sweep. Plus, they don't have a bullpen. So even if the Giants get an early lead, like, you should be able to attack the bullpen and get wins. And that's literally exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the reception that Devers would get. And I asked those guys, I was like, you guys tell me. I don't know what that crowd is going to think of him. And at first it was a very negative reaction. But then it sounds like they played a video after the fact and it was mixed, I guess more mixed. So hopefully they got their booze out. You know, we get it. Like we see
Oh yeah.
with. I don't think Devers is ever going to be like a super fan favorite here, but I don't feel like he's dogging it or that he's, not trying or that he's being kind of hard to deal with. Like he's just not going to be a good media guy. He's not going to be the lead dog in the clubhouse. He would rather be like your third or fourth best player and he can just kind of fit in. I think that's what he wants.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was actually in San Francisco during the Boston series. I did get home in time to watch Saturday evening's game, and then I was home Sunday. So I really I was in San Francisco for the Friday night game, and it was kind of fun because I got to see him hit the home run in Boston. I was at the Fieldworks Brewery across the channel from Oracle Park because we went to a concert Friday night at Oracle Park. And so I got to see Devers hit that home run in Boston, which was kind of fun. There was no sound on, but it was a blast to watch and have him go back there and do that. But to go there and get swept, I mean, that was part of the script of 2026. So I was not shocked at that. Bullpens can't hold leads. Just all kinds of things, all kinds of problems. But again, these are not problems that are fixable this year, and we know that.
Yeah.
This is if we told you that I don't even know I got to go back and look at the names. If this is so bad. If we told you that on August 24th of 2026, you'd be seeing Nate Furman, Grant McCray, Anthony Molina, and Shea Whitcomb get called up, you'd know that there were problems.
Yeah.
You'd know that there were issues. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So having those little things where it's like Devers goes back to Boston. Let's see, boom, he's our guy now. Do it. It kind of gets you a little amped up and stuff. So we get little things here and there.
Let's talk about Tugboat here. Tugboat Matt Wilkinson, he made a start on the 19th at Cleveland. He was more of an opener than anything else. He threw 2 innings, gave up 1 hit, no walks, no strikeouts, just very clean, in and out, and that was it. And so then they gave him another start on yesterday's game against the Red Sox. 3 2/3, 7 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 1 jack, 2 strikeouts, and no walks. So a little bit of a rough, real start there in that second game. I don't know how much you caught of it, but I was kind of looking at the numbers, and I think he hit 90 on his fastball a couple times, but it's not going to be, he kind of reminds me of a little bit, and not anywhere the way that he looks, but just for me wondering if he could get away with this is like the last time we saw somebody throw this soft and get away with it was Kirk Reeder. And that's a long time ago.
Yeah. It's a different game now.
Yeah.
I thought about that too. I thought, Rick Russell, Kirk Reeder, you're thinking about that. And then you're going, can that survive in 2026, 27, 28? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see it. After the first 2 innings in his first start, I thought, well, in Cleveland, I go, oh, well, maybe. I mean, it's possible, I guess. But then we saw him going and extended, a couple of extra innings. But again, the guys like Tugboat, guys like Dylan Smith especially, I mean, he's really coming around as a reliever and he's coming into some big spots and getting some big outs. So that's all promise. That's what we're going to have from now until the end of the season is what can guys do? How can they improve? How can this coaching staff improve those guys? That's super important too. So Tugboat's going to need some work, but man, you know what? This is all valuable experience. He's not going to get that experience if the Giants are 5 or 6 games over 500 right now, fighting for a wild card spot. He's still going to be in AAA pitching. So at least, hey, hone your skills up in the big leagues against big league hitters in big league ballparks. Get used to the travel and the fine dining, right? Fine dining versus AAA dining.
Hey, the paycheck is a lot better too.
It's way better. So, get all that under your belt, and bring all that in 2027 with you.
Yeah, he's going to be a guy that will have an opportunity to make the big league club next year. And he's also probably a guy where he might be better suited in the bullpen. And who knows? I mean, I don't know if you can even have guys who don't throw 90 regularly in the bullpen either, but
that'd be difficult.
We talk about Whisenhunt, very similar. Whisenhunt does throw a little bit harder, but Whisenhunt doesn't blow people away with anything but his changeup. Just another thing that they're going to have to figure out for next year. I would be surprised if either guy was like, a main cog in the rotation. Like, this is a rotation that, you had Logan Webb and Robbie Ray as your two guys. And now, and so you're trying to make up some of that if you want your team to be about pitching and defense. So it's going to be a tough one. Okay, we haven't talked about this yet, and we're going to do it as a part of our, we haven't busted this one out in a while because the Dodgers have just been not nice to us these last couple years, but let's bust this one out. Bitter Giants fans are back, baby. So the Dodgers on the field, they're not the best team record-wise in baseball, but I think they're kind of, they're pacing themselves. They've got their pitching kind of back at the right time for them, but it's more off the field than on the field right now. What is it with owners, man? First, Jed York trying to pick up hookers in Ohio, and
is that what it was? Holy moly! I didn't know that's what the story was. I saw a headline on it today. Wow! All right.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Hey, gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
You know how the Niners, they've had this thing for the longest time, and I hate it so much, but it's like this shield thing, and it says the quest for 6. And I just feel like it's nothing but bad luck.
It's been around for what, 30 years now?
Yeah. Somebody changed it, and it said the quest for sex. So thanks, Jed, you goofball. Jesus.
Oh man,
nothing like the goofball owner to just shine a bad light on your team that's trying to get the season going and win some football games.
Us as Giants fans, we also have our own goofball owners too. So
yeah. I mean, and so hopefully we're going to be talking about the Dodgers goofball owner here, Mark Walter. He had to sell his share of the LA Lakers. And we were all kind of like, huh, what's going on? Well, there's a investigation going on about his business. He's got 2 insurance companies that invested money collected from policyholders by lending it to businesses that were then expected to pay it back with interest. And so the question is about whether or not some of those loans finance companies with ties to Walter, and were not identified as affiliated or related party transactions as is required. So is he doing stuff on the low, on the down low, and risking, money for his sports teams and this, that, and the other thing? I don't know enough about how this works because I'm not a super rich guy who's like moving money in like all these different businesses and accounts. But, he was investigated. And then when he had to sell the Lakers, then people were like, I wonder what happened during that investigation. So now, obviously, the question turns to the Dodgers. There's a story that John Orand put out the other day where Walter went to their cable deal. I think it's through Charter, whatever their RSN is, their regional sports network.
Yeah.
The Dodgers have like one of the sweetest paying regional sports networks out there. And he actually went to them, supposedly, according to John Oren, and said, "Hey, can I borrow against what you guys are going to pay us over the next X number of years, 10 years or whatever? Can I borrow against that money?" And they're like, no. And so that story came out and people are like, wow, like, how is this dude so hard up for money? So by selling the Lakers, he's obviously trying to get his liquid value up and moving for whatever reason is the case. I know Bill Plaschke, LA Times writer, who a lot of Dodgers fans don't like because he's a little bit of a doomsday kind of guy.
He's big time. Yes.
Yeah, he basically wrote that, if anything happens to Walter, they could lose Friedman, and Ohtani has an out in his contract that says if Friedman or Walter is not affiliated with the Dodgers anymore, he could opt out of his deal. Now he's on, he's going to be getting paid until like the early 2040s for the rest of this money. $680 million of his $700 million deal is all deferred. Yeah. So that's coming in the future. But if he's like, hey, this thing is a little shady. The reason why I did this is because I wanted you to then invest the money today in the team to make the team good. And they're like, oh, maybe they can't do that in the future. Maybe he would want to renegotiate his contract or opt out and go to a different team. Who knows? So Plaschke wrote about that, and Dodgers fans were like, F you, Plaschke. But for us, this is a little nice nugget for us to kind of cheer about, because our baseball team doesn't give us anything to cheer about.
Right.
Cheer on the frustration of Dodger fans right now. Though I will say, my buddy Pedro, I think he's kind of realistic about the scenario. He's like, yeah, it's not a good look. Like, this dude could be, screwing with people's money, and that's not a good thing. But you can't really look into the future and say what's going to happen. And I think most Dodger fans are taking the lane of, this is just rich guy stuff. Like, we'll believe negativity when we see it. And if he's forced to sell the team, then I think they will pay attention. But outside of that, I don't think they're going to be too bothered. What says you? What's gonna get Mark Walter to sell this team and to free up Shohei Ohtani again?
It's tough because baseball players are built differently. But I should just say, people who play sports in general, especially professional athletes, are built differently. They're going to block this stuff out, right? I mean, the Dodgers have just won 6 games in a row.
Yeah, I know.
It's not really a problem for them. They're worried about what's on the field. Dave Roberts, I don't think he gives a crap right now. He's just worried about, hey, I've got a job to do, and that's 3P. And so I think this season, it's not going to affect a whole lot. It's going to be an off-season thing. It's also going to be an off-season thing because it's going to probably play into a little bit of negotiations when it comes to the collective bargaining agreement. Because if you've got owners who are deferring money, but then going out and doing all these shady investments, that's a bit of an issue for the players. I think in the off-season, behind closed doors, in the finance rooms. It's not on the field. I don't think it's effective on the field. I don't think it's going to bother them on the field. But
yeah,
but it could really play into some stuff in the off season, I think, which would be really interesting if it did come up in negotiations about, well, look at what Walter's doing. He's to say other owners aren't doing the same thing or can't do the same thing. So we need to look at that.
Yeah, I think the deferment of money only helps out the richest teams. Like the Pittsburgh Pirates are not going to be deferring any money. They don't,
No, they can't.
Well, we'll see as far as what ownership looks like in the next 10 years. I mean, it's part of the reason why these guys, the owners, want a salary cap, is because they believe that it'll increase the value of their franchises like it has in the NFL and the NBA. And Major League Baseball has more tonnage of packages of games to sell, so they probably feel like, we should be even more valuable than these 16 game NFL teams, outside of the ones that are constantly in the playoffs. So that's an interesting argument. I don't think the players are ever going to come to the table on a salary cap. Could you do more with the tax stuff, hitting these different levers of how much money? I would love to see them have a floor where these teams are forced to spend more money in order to be in Major League Baseball. But I just think that deferment stuff is only for rich teams. And this is me saying that the Giants were ready to do exactly for Shohei Ohtani what the Dodgers did, because that's what he wanted. And they were like, yep, we're in. You just tell us, you tell us where you want to sign. So, that they were willing to do that. And I'm sure there's payments that are deferred on current contracts today that is not crazy like Ohtani's. So it's probably not talked about, but I'm sure it's out there. This whole thing with the offseason, I'm kind of glad that we still have season left, because I don't want to have to deal with this crappy offseason. Like, what the hell are we going to talk about? Like, it's going to be such a boring podcast instead of talking about free agency and trades and prospect, we're going to be talking about these two stubborn sides meeting and butting heads, and the wealthy owners against the rich players. And I will always root for the players in these scenarios, but it's like, everyone's kind of a jerk in these moments. So well, I just hope, I know it's going to be painful. I just hope that they're smart enough to understand that they've made a lot of movement since the last time that we had this in 1995, because people were hating baseball in 1995, man. They had to allow steroids to get the comeback.
Well, and the thing too is you say that, and I'm fearing a bit that there is some disinterest in baseball right now, because you get a team like the Dodgers, who have won back-to-back World Series championships, and they just traded for Tarek Skubal, and they have the prospects and the money to do what they want. When you get to the postseason games are fun to watch, but you always have that looming, but the Dodgers, right? This game is great. This series is great, but the Dodgers are next. And so that's kind of a problem. And I know Ghost of Gerolitis says, he's watching the show, and he or she, shouldn't say, is posting and talking about the Brewers winning the World Series. I mean, we know the Brewers fail at some point. That's just kind of what they do. And it's always with the Brewers, but the Dodgers are next. And that's what happened to them last year. So that's a bit of the issue right now. You just have that disinterest with the regular season is 162 games. We're in late August right now. As a Giants fan, we're almost 30 games under 500. Where do we turn? Because our biggest rival is smoking everybody and possibly on their way to a back-to-back-to-back World Series championship. So where do we turn? Who do we root for? What do we watch? What do we do? You just kind of start, if you're a baseball fan, you start to watch the stories of baseball. Pete Crow Armstrong becomes the Cubs' first 30-30 guy. That's exciting. So you start to watch those players. I don't know. Something needs to change. The problem I have with the floor of a salary cap is that you're going to get teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are giving Christian Koss way too much money to play for them, because they need a guy who can play three positions, and they're going to give him $25 million a year to do it, just so they can hit that floor. So that's where I have a problem with the floor salary cap. I don't know how to work that and make it be legit. There are smarter people in the room than me that will figure that out, but that's what I worry about as a fan. So
You know who doesn't care about that one bit?
Christian
Koss. He's like, bring it on, baby. Bring on the floor.
Christian Koss and Oslavas Basabe are totally fine with this floor. They have no issue with it.
All right, we're going to end this on a high note because this season has been about so much negativity, and we're trying to, we make fun of a lot of it, but we do want to think about a time in our lives when we were enjoying watching the Giants play baseball. We didn't have to deal with, people putting Bible verses on their hat on Pride Night. We didn't have to deal with, KNBR's associate producer having a hot mic and bad mouthing Buster Posey. We didn't have to deal with all of those things. And we were dealing with some really good things. So Brad and I have put together our 5 favorite Giants teams of all time. And let's start with number 5.
Okay.
And I will let you begin. I want to hear, what is your 5th favorite Giants team of all time?
All right. I had already made my list last week. You sent me yours this week.
Yeah.
I did not send you mine because mine's funny because when you said to do this, I thought, you know what? My top 5 probably changes a little bit as each year goes by, right? As we get older, we kind of think about the past teams a little bit differently. My number 1 is probably going to shock you. So we'll get there.
I'm excited.
Yeah. My number 5 is the 2002 San Francisco Giants. I had a blast watching that team that summer. The World Series, even though we lost, has a special place in my heart because it was my wife and I, it was our 1-year anniversary. We went down to Disneyland. I have pictures of, and this is when Disney owned the Anaheim Angels. And so I have pictures of Disney California Adventure, which had just opened not too long before this, with the Rally Monkey hanging from the Golden Gate Bridge, the Giants and Angels banners hanging. The California World Series is how they pitched it. Everything was crazy down there. We were actually in Disneyland for games 6 and 7.
Woo.
It was nuts. Went back to the room for game 6 because I thought I'm going to celebrate here and then we're going to go back in and hit some rides. We're going to win the World Series. We're going to go back in and hit some rides. It didn't pan out. We still went back and hit some rides. I forgot about it, got over it pretty quick because I was in Disneyland. But that 2002 San Francisco Giants, I mean, you look at that lineup with Kent and Aurelia, David Bell, Bonds, the great Tsuyoshi Shinjo is playing center field for the Giants. He had a 1.9 WAR that year.
There you go.
238 with 9 bombs. Stole us 5 bases. Remember, we thought Shinjo was going to come over and steal 40 bases. He stole 5.
Just like Jung Hoo. We thought the same thing of Jung Hoo.
Who was our stolen base leader that year? Do you know?
Let me think about this.
Quick little trivia for you.
It was a little bit of a larger Barry Bonds at that
I don't
point.
think you're gonna get it. I don't think you're gonna get it.
Okay.
Kenny Lofton was on the team, but it was not him.
It wasn't him, huh?
Kenny Lofton played 46 games for them that year. It was not him.
Oh man, Dave Roberts? No, he wasn't on that team until 5 years later.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Reggie Sanders.
Nice.
Right fielder Reggie Sanders, 250 batting average, 18 stolen bases, 23 bombs, almost a 2020 guy.
There you go.
Yeah, that was
good. They would have been on my next 5 for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why they didn't make my 5 is because the heartbreak was just tremendous. Like
that
it
break
was
your heart. Yeah.
I was so upset. Like it's pretty rare. Like there are some moments like 2016 Warriors, I was really upset in a sense because it just felt a little bit unfair. Like the NBA can feel unfair at sometimes where you're like, are they kind of
the reffing?
Are they playing with the thing here a little bit? And that series, the thing that bothered it was because of decisions, right? Choices that the Giants and Dusty Baker made that were the wrong decisions to make in those moments as you play out the game. Taking out Russ Ortiz, giving Russ Ortiz that ball, that whole thing, turning to was it Levon in Game 7? Who pitched Game 7?
I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. It was, because Russ Game 6, Levon Game 7,
and wasn't Schmidt was like, no, I can't go. wasn't that one of the things?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of messy.
Yeah. It's just
It
like
was a messy ending to a fun year.
And those guys were on fumes. Like Rob Nen, they turned off the radar gun because he was not throwing hard enough as he used to. So they turned off the radar gun. But yeah, like that was a rough. I just I remember the heartache more than I remember the great season, just because that's how it is sometimes. But yeah, they would have been on my back end 5. If we were to do a top 10. Okay, my number 5 was 2012. So I included all 3 World Series teams on my 5. I will tell you some of the other teams that were not quite there in my top 5. 1986, which would have been like my year of Giants baseball, where I was like, wait, they can be good? I never thought that was part of the. I just thought we were always going to be bad. Like, no way they can be good. And they had all those young guys. 2021. That was the last time that you and I were like, what is this season? Like, this seems
this season ever
a little surreal as we're talking about it on this podcast. And then we had that funky 3-game series against the Dodgers, even though they had the 2 best records in all of baseball and they had to play against each other. Like, just silly stuff like that where you're like, come on. And some of those other teams that I would say, probably here's a weird one. 1994, only because in that strike season, the Giants were catching fire there at the end. And I was like, oh man, they just have to make the wild card. Like, that's all they need. And, Darryl Strawberry's on the team. You're like, what's going on here? And then I would say also 1997, they won the division.
Yeah.
And then maybe one of those like other 2003 or 2004 teams, but 2001 too, because of Bonds just going nuts. But I didn't really feel too strongly in their chances in those other leagues. But yeah, those would have been a little bit outside of my top 5. Okay, so 2012. Why 2012 is lower than 14 and 10 is because it was kind of the opposite of what we had been through as Giants fans. They win the title in 2010, and you're like, oh man, they got all this young pitching. Well, are we going to be doing this again? And then 2012 comes, and you're like, I think we're going to be doing it again. Like, this team is really, really good. And, they win the division. I think they win 95 games, something like that. Matt Cain has a tremendous year. And then the playoffs happen, and they're kind of having to come back in all these series. So it was a little bit of like I wanted that one world beater championship where they're just like the best team in baseball, and it's like unquestioned. Like, they're just going to kill everybody because, they're just defending their even series title. But they did have to, change it up a little bit and be the team that is supposed to win, and was a little disappointing, and then would have to come back and win those series in the playoffs, culminating though in an ultimate wipeout of the Tigers in the World Series, who were favored to beat them. So that was fulfilling in that way, but it was like some of those playoff series where you're like, they really have to get to a Game 5 with the Reds. Like, are they really down 3-1 to the Cardinals? Like, what is going on here? So it's just because expectations were higher in 2012, and they had to kind of play the comeback team. So that's why that's the least favorite of my 3 World Series winners there.
I actually have them number 4. So that's my next
There you
one.
go. There you
2012, Rally Enchilada. Rally Zito.
Rally.
I mean,
those were fun. They were fun,
yeah,
for sure.
They were an absolute blast. I remember watching those games thinking, especially the Cardinals series with Zito and the game that he pitched and the bunt that he had. I mean, just everything was beautiful. Everything was fantastic. I mean, it was just such heartwarming memories. And then we had to deal with Melky Cabrera halfway through the season as well. He ends up being second in the team in WAR, having only played 113 games, gets pinched for steroids. He's gone. They just
wasn't he the MVP of the All-Star game? Or
he was the MVP of the All-Star game, and then I think like 2 weeks later, he's pinched for roids, and then they just had to rally and keep going. So 2012, I just special place in my heart. And believe it or not, this is a little bit of a spoiler. Believe it or not, I only have 2 World Series teams. Of the 3 on my list. So there you go, number 4.
All right. The Rally Enchilada stuff, the Rally Zito stuff, of course, that was a lot of fun. And that was when social media was still pretty cool at that point.
Yeah, it was fun. Social media was fun. It was gathering.
Yeah.
It was a place to hang out.
Yeah, great
and
community.
Talk during the game, talk sports. It was a blast. Yeah.
I was at game 1 of that World Series as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Got to see Pablo go jack 3 times.
That was crazy. I remember you have video of one of them, right?
I have video of 1 or 2 of them, but it was on like an old school digital camera. So the video
was on a toaster. You brought your toaster.
It's not great. It's not great video.
Very pixelated.
All right. My next one is the 2014 World Series winner.
There you go.
That team, they snuck in. They were a professional baseball team. They knew they just needed a chance and that they could get on a run. And that's exactly what happened. But I wouldn't say that they were even one of the better, there are better Giants teams that didn't even make the playoffs than that Giants team, but they just got in and then they were able to just win games when they needed. You know, it's a Bumgarner series. It's a Bochy series. It's a scratch and claw Brandon Crawford grand slam in the wild card game series, like that kind of stuff where you're just like, I think that's also the Travis Ishikawa home run as well. And so it's just like Bochy's just like, okay, I have a limited amount of resources here. How can I scramble them together and put them in scenarios where they will actually do well? And he did it. You know, he was able to do it. And of course, it's Bumgarner. Like he was one of the best pitchers that I'd ever seen in my entire life during that playoffs. Just so clutch. Nothing phased him. You know, we're thinking in game 7 against the Royals, we're like, okay, he can probably go like 1 or 2. And then it's like, was it Peavy or Hudson that started that game 7? It was one of those 2 guys.
It was Hudson in game 7.
And Boch is like, yeah, man, you know, if you give me 3, it'll be good. Like,
yeah.
Very many innings.
Give me 2. Give me anything.
And Bum was just like, all right, got it from here, y'all. Like everyone in the dugout, like you don't even have to warm up. Just sit down. Like we got this. And they got it. They even had that misplay in the outfield late in the game that could have turned into something.
My stomach did not recover from that, even though we got the final out of the World Series. My stomach did not recover from that for a good hour, I think, after that happened.
And then you have, again, this is social media at its best. I get the tweet from Alex Pavlovich that the game is over a good 15 seconds before it happens on television. And I'm with my kid. I think only one of my kids was with me, and both of my parents. And I'm sitting with this news for a whole 15 seconds before Pablo catches that foul pop and falls to his back. And I told Alex this I told it on air. I was like, and he's like, yeah, everyone tells me that story.
And Pablo just said at the Wall of Fame ceremony a couple of weeks ago, that was his greatest memory. Not hitting 3 home runs in game 1 of the 2012 World Series, but 2014 catching the final out. That was his favorite baseball memory.
This is a great one. He's been at the center of some really, really good ones for sure.
That was a hell of a team. You know what? That team was known more for Game 7 of the World Series than anything else they did that season. And that's why that 2014 team did not make my list, is only because it wasn't as memorable from start to finish as some of these other teams. So,
all right, what is your number 3?
Number 3, 1993. What a summer that was, right? What a fantastic summer. Horrible ending. Fantastic summer. The last season of Will Clark as a San Francisco Giant.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds, Matt Williams, and Robbie Thompson all having MVP type seasons. Robbie Thompson, 15th in MVP voting that year.
He started off tremendously, makes the All-Star
team. He was
on
fire.
And then I think he got like drilled in the head with a fastball by was it Mark Wohlers or somebody? And he just was not the same for the rest of that season.
I think it still had a 6.3 WAR.
Yeah.
A gold glove, a silver slugger. I mean, just outstanding season. Everybody was on fire that year offensively, pitching wise. And I said at the beginning of the year, I remember telling somebody, because I was at Little League. I was an umpire in Little League. And I remember because I'd been around that Little League since I was a kid. So I remember the managers coming up to me and they're like, "Hey, your Giants are looking good." I said, if they could just hold on to the pitching.
Yeah.
If the pitching could just hold out all season long, this is a World Series championship team. But as we know, it did not. Bill Swift and John Burkett, they couldn't hold on. They couldn't be the guys all year long. But that pitching staff, Swift, Burkett, Black, Wilson, we won't talk about how it ended. But we'll talk about the good times. We'll talk about the bench. Dave Martinez, Todd Benzinger, Mark Carrion, Mike Benjamin. Those guys were magic too.
That's it, and that's a really good bench because those guys are pros.
Bench,
Martinez started a little bit, Benzinger started a little bit, but they were so much better as bench pieces and guys that you could trust in moments when your other vet needed a rest. So that is also my number 3 team.
There you go.
And I mentioned that the 2002 team was just it's just too hurt. It hurts too much to think about that team.
Mm-hmm.
2 of the other teams that hurt too much are on this list, but it took the pain from those 2 teams to get me to the 2002 and just be like, nope, I can't do it anymore. And this was one of those because the Giants lose in the last game of the season to the cruddy Dodgers. And if they had won, I think they force a 1-game playoff against the Braves for the division because it was the year before the wild card. So you actually had to win your division. And you haven't been to the movies all that much lately, but
no.
If you go to an AMC theater, they have this Nicole Kidman commercial for AMC before every single AMC showing. So I've seen this thing probably 100 times now.
Yeah.
And her last line is, "Heartbreak feels good in a place like this."
Oh no.
And I'm just like, I'm never watching baseball in a place like this because heartbreak will still hurt in a place like this. But that's 100%. What that team was, that 93 team. It was just like they were so good all season long. And just to come up so soft in that last game, Solomon Torres, the young kid, just so much responsibility on his shoulders. Barry Bonds had an out-of-body experience season, his first season with the Giants. I just remember it was almost like every time I turned on a game in the first inning, he hit a home run. I was just like, how does this keep happening?
Yeah.
So
I was at opening day in San Francisco, 1993. The team was just saved too, right? I mean, that was kind of a big deal. The team was just saved from going to Tampa Bay. And so that was huge. And then you had the new bleachers, right? The new metal bleachers in left field. I was up in left field, second deck, and you remember how far left field, center field, second deck in Candlestick.
Candlestick is a football stadium. More
you might as well have been at Oracle at that point watching the game. I mean, it was so far out there. But I remember it was great. First time and only time I've ever seen the Grateful Dead perform live, because Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir and one of the other guys sang the national anthem. So it was like, this is fantastic. And then Barry Bonds hits that 3-run jack.
Yep.
And does the spin, and I'm like, this guy is going to be fantastic for us. And he goes on to hit 46 home runs. But yeah, that was God, what a fun season that was.
Yeah, I think in the All-Star game, I think the All-Star game is at Camden Yards, and he doesn't go deep, but he hits like a triple and like 2 singles and 4 ABs or something like that. And just like, yep, this is the year of Barry. Wins the MVP. And they just could not get to that next level. And it's, there were some people going like, oh, he just doesn't have it. He's he can't be on. I was like, the team won over 100 games.
Exactly. And nowadays that team would be in the playoffs every single year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what is your number 2?
My number 2, I wrestled with this one. Don't be shocked, but my number 2 is 2010.
Mm-hmm.
The first World Series championship Giants will
my number
always
1.
be, and so close to my number 1, but my number 1 is different.
Okay,
but number 2, 2010 Giants, that will be a season I will always remember from game 1 to the very end, and the fight with the Padres,
mm-hmm.
the winning the West in the final game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
The playoff battles, Cody Ross coming up huge in Philly, just everything that team did will always be in my heart. As a matter of fact, I'm going to disappear into the background, but I just picked this up as well. The 8 DVD pack. It's got all of the World Series games. But the main reason I got it was because you get the Giants radio broadcast with it. And when Kruko announced his retirement, I thought I finally got to pick this up.
Yeah,
I think I found it like $20. So I'm going to start spinning these pretty soon, just because I think I'd rather watch these than
the current team.
2026 Giants games. I put this on instead. But that team will always be top, not number 1. It is, but very close to number. You could put this as a tie with number 1 with my number 1 team, but the 2010 Giants, it's just you can't put into words what that meant for Giants fans, especially us, our generation, in our 50s now. We persevered through all the weird years, and like you said earlier too, the heartbreak of 2002. For me, it was 2002, but I think it was more so Game 7 against the Cardinals in 1987. That one got me. I was 14 years old. It got me, man.
My dad I think my dad got mad at me because of how sad I was in that game. He was like, this game is not even close. Like, there's nothing to, like, they got smoked in this game.
But
like,
did you tell your dad we were up 3-2?
Yes.
We
I
just
was
had to win.
What about game 6? Yeah. This is my number.
And we would have beaten the Twins. I stand by that. We would have beaten the Twins. There we go.
Jeffrey Leonard's going 1 flap down like 7 times in that series.
Yeah.
I had this as number 1, and I think it's because it was really the beginning of the 3, and you had Tim Lincecum still as Tim Lincecum. He didn't have a great year that year. He actually had a pretty inconsistent year. He would come back in 2011 and actually have a really strong year. But in the playoffs, he was Lincecum. You were talking about that season and having those DVDs. I bought game 1 against the Braves. I want to say he struck out 14, and he's just throwing like splitters and these guys in the dirt. he's just throwing splitters in the dirt, and these Braves are swinging at all of them. And like that version of Lincecum, and then closing out the Rangers in game 5, I think. And seeing him being at the center of it all and winning the World Series MVP, and like that was just like, man, that's, of all the people to finally bring a World Series to the Giants, it's this like, you know, skinny 5'9" dude with long hair who's you know, the fans were just saying, "Let Timmy smoke." Like that was the calling, you know, that was what they would scream and yell. And it was just like the most unassuming superstar, I think, of my sports lifetime was Tim Lincecum. And I think the way that his career kind of ended too just makes that story of 2010 even sweeter for me, because we didn't see, like, we wanted him to be the greatest pitcher of all time. You know, we wanted him, but we knew that his body was not holding up for him in the way that he wanted to. But to me, that season, you know, Brian Wilson, hilarious, the machine, all that stuff, hilarious. You know, Buster Posey. Buster Posey gets called up on my birthday that year. I'm touching down in Vegas. I'm going to a UFC fight, and I get the Twitter notification on my phone. Buster Posey called up. I was like, "Oh, here we go. We're let's go, Buster." And Buster had a great season as a rookie. So all of that stuff is awesome. And, you know, I was at many games that season. I don't think I I did go to a playoff game. I went to one of the Philadelphia games because Barry threw out the first pitch. I think Barry and Willie may have thrown out the first pitch together, wow, if I'm remembering that correctly. Where I worked at the time, so in 2008, I worked right across the street from Oracle. I had to park in the parking garage, and then for night games, I had to leave because they're nope, you got to move your car because there are actually we're going to be able to make double the money today on our parking. But by the time of 2010, we had moved a little bit. But my colleagues, they were like, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go." So we're a very small company still. There were maybe like 15 of us. So we go over to the CEO and the VP of marketing, and we're like, "I think we're gonna go to this ball game." And they're like, "Yeah, go for it. We know that you guys are gonna work throughout the night anyway, so you might as well go." And we went, and it was a blast, and they won, and yeah. That is a really good memory. Okay, what is your number one? Now I'm like wondering.
Now you're wondering. All right. And this is probably because I'm just a touch older than you. My number one team will always be the 1986 San Francisco Giants.
So that was that. They would have probably been 6 or 7 for me. For sure.
Yeah. They were my number one. And again, I think it's because of our age difference. And I was 13 that summer. I was 12. Turning 13 in the middle of the summer. And I'd been following the Giants for a while. My grandparents had season tickets, so I'd gone to some games, started in probably 79, 80, 81, 82, went to all those years. But this was the first season where I was like, this is what a team looks like when they win. And they were fighting for first place midway through the season. I think they even took over first place at one point midway through the season from the Astros. Kept battling. We had a couple of rookies of the year, a couple guys named Will Clark and Robbie Thompson. If not for them, we're not here. I mean, we're not here doing this. This is what it's named after. So I kind of had to go with this team as number one, because anytime I think of the Giants and when I started becoming that fan, that guy that was all over this team, it was 1986. They still had Chili Davis and Dan Gladden left over. Those were my guys from when I was younger, because I was an outfielder, so I loved watching those guys. The great Chris Brown.
He made the last out in the All-Star game that year, grounded into a double play.
He did, yeah. And he hit 317 that season. Couldn't stay healthy, but he hit 317.
I think I think there was like runners on first and second.
Yeah.
In that game, and my dad looks at me and he goes, "You know he's gonna ground it to double play, right?" He's like, "No, this guy's a doubles machine. He's ready." Next pitch, ground ball to shortstop. I was like, "Oh man," or ground ball to third or whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
"Man,
Can't hit all-star pitching, but he could hit doubles against the Atlanta Braves of 1986.
I love that team. It's like that's why I wore number 6. It was because I got to see Robbie Thompson play second base that year, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is how you do it."
Candy Maldonado. I mean, he was fantastic to watch. I mean, all these guys. We had Melvin. We had Bob Melvin, Bob Brenly, 2 guys that go on to manage. Aldretti on the bench, Joel Youngblood, Randy Kutcher, Harry Spillman. I mean, these are, Dan Driesen.
And
these are guys that
Kruko's 20 gamer, which we talked about as well.
Kruko's 20 gamer. So that's the thing. That's the team that anytime I look back at my fandom and I think, where did it start? It truly, even though I was going to games and I felt the heartbreak of 1985 and the 100 losses, and Disaster Lemaster playing shortstop.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to 1986 when you've got Uribe and Clark and Thompson coming up, and you still have Hackman on the team, and you've got Kruko. That anytime I look back, I go, that was the team. That was where it started.
Clark homering off of Nolan Ryan in the very first game. I mean, I'm sure you watched that live because I was
in the living room. Yeah, I remember specifically watching that and going, "Oh, this is the guy everybody's talking about."
So my number 2 was 87 for many of the same reasons of what you just talked about, and that 86 team is the reason why the 87 team was so good. They made a couple of moves. Unfortunately, Chris Brown got traded, but we brought in Kevin Mitchell.
It's great.
And they made some really strong moves to get some pitching, Dave Dravecky and Don Robinson. And so they were able to, they said, "Hey, here's the blueprint, 86. We need to add some vets to this young nucleus, and we're going to be able to win some ball games." 88, I thought they had a really good team too. 89, we could have put that up. I think if the World Series ends a little differently, if they win one game, I probably have a little bit of more love for that team in my heart. And just the fact that they went down to the dogs to the A's still bothers me. But that 89 team would have been in my top 10 too, because Clark and Mitchell were like rock stars that year because of how well they did. And I think they were like 1-2 in the MVP race and all that stuff. So great memories. I wish we could talk about these old teams for the rest of the season, but we cannot.
Yeah.
But I think we can.
We should.
I think we got a really good show out of the Giants going 1-5 against the Guardians and the Red Sox.
I think so. I you know what? You and I could get on here and talk any baseball anytime and make it fun and interesting. I believe that. So,
yep, I'm with you. I mean, who knows? Maybe the postseason will be entertaining enough where we don't really have a team, but it's going to be everybody against the Dodgers is what we're going to be rooting for. So maybe that's the gimmick for every postseason show is the Bitter Giant show. We're just rooting against the Dodgers.
And maybe Ryan Walker dazzles us this week. And then we come back and we praise Ryan Walker. Who knows?
I don't want to see Ryan Walker face. I don't want to see it. Like,
yes.
Oh no, not again. I just gave up another home run. I can't believe it. I don't want to see that.
Just I want to see the confidence on the mound, and with Ryan Walker on the mound, that face of just unconfident is not fun.
Yeah, Ryan Walker, his face is the action of someone chewing off all of their fingernails. That's what his face looks like.
100%.
All right, that is it from here. We will be back next week. So for Brad, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.